Welcome to the channel. Our large Monstera is getting repotted, and I'm going to teach you guys how to make homemade moss pole, because this thing needs support. Look at how beautiful this thing is. Real big, real bushy, real new leaf right here. Here's my fiance hiding back here.
Hi.
And she's the one that purchased this plant. Let's get to it. All right, so before we get started, we're gonna go ahead and sweep up some of this old soil on the table, just to spruce up our workspace. If you're wondering where I got this cute little brush and dustpan, I bought it from a store locally called Daiso. If you don't know what it is, sorry to say, it's not everywhere in the States, but here in Hawaii, it's awesome. Now, let's get to it. All right, so I know I said I was gonna be making a moss pole, but we'll actually be making a cocoa core pole using cocoa husk, cocoa chips, however you wanna call it. Now, the reason why I'll be using this is because I don't want the roots, aerial roots on the plant to get too wild, too crazy, and grow too much into the pole. Now, the material I'll be using is called wire mesh. You can pick this up at your Home Depot, Lowe's, most hardware stores. This right here I purchased is about a 1/2 inch. Yeah, so the spacing on these squares are about a 1/2 inch. Not about, it is. It's 1/2 inch square sizes. You don't want it to be too small or too open. That way your medium, which is your moss or your cocoa, or whatever it is that you're gonna put inside the pole, can stay in there properly without falling out too easily. So let's go ahead, let's check this out. I've used this before, so I have some edges there that I do need to snip off to continue on making the pole. Now let's get to it. All right, this right here is a cutting mat that I use. That way I don't ruin my table. If you have something to cut on that you don't worry about breaking, damaging, then by all means do so. Let's continue on. Where did it go? Now what I'm doing right now is holding each piece that I'm cutting off. That way it doesn't fly away like the first one I just did. Now these are the little pieces that are coming off. You don't want that to stay on there. That way it's easy to put together. All right, so one more thing that you're definitely gonna need is gonna be zip ties. If you don't know what zip ties are, go ahead and Google them, search them up, but you don't want them to be too big or too small. Here's my hand for reference. I can't give you an exact size at the moment, but this will do. Now we're gonna go ahead and measure out how much we need. Probably about, I'm probably not gonna make this pole too thick. Also, maybe not too skinny. Just enough for it to support the plant. That way it can grow upwards. Monsteras do love to grow aerial roots. That's gonna be one of the main reasons why we use a pole in this situation, so that it can have something to grab onto instead of trying to grow in weird directions and end up hanging in all sorts of ways, which is still likely to happen, but at least it'll be a little bit more contained. All right, let's see. This is gonna be good. I think I'm gonna go about that much. We're gonna cut off at the 13th square. I lost count. Let's see, where are we going? 1, 2, 3. And begin. Now let me take a quick moment to let you guys know that you guys want to be using wire cutters. You can't just use scissors because that's not going to be sharp enough to cut through the metal wire. Let's continue on. Okay, now here we have our wire that we've just cut off. I'm gonna go ahead and round it out and shape it. Now the two ends, these two ends are gonna be met with zip ties. We're gonna zip it from one end to another, just like that. Doesn't have to be throughout the whole thing. It just has to be at a somewhat even spacing, however you want to do, as long as you have one at the end of each side of the pole. All right, now the edges on this that we just cut are kind of sharp, so you may have to use some gloves trying to shape this, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that barehanded. Don't ask. Okay, looks like it's starting to take some form. What really helps out is if we were doing a moss pole, you can kind of like put that in there to help roll it in place. In this case, I'm gonna get as close as possible from one end to another and go ahead and zip tie it once it's there. All right, and just like that, now we can get started and continue putting zip ties all along the rest of the pole. Okay, so now we got this going on right here. This is what it looks like. Zip ties and all. Go ahead and snip these bad boys off right at the very end. Now you got nice clean cut, just like that. We're gonna do that for the rest of the pole. These wire cutters make it so much easier. Snippy, snippy in a jiffy. All right. Let's shape it a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna also try to spin these zip tie heads inwards. That way it doesn't show up on the outside. When it does show up on the outside, in some cases, the plant, when it moves around, it might get cut from these sharp edges of the zip tie. So that's why I'm doing this. This one seems pretty tight. Let's see if I can roll it around. It's working. There it is. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and take our cocoa chips. We're gonna go ahead and put it down into the pole. But also you wanna leave some space at the bottom for soil because it's only gonna be underneath inside the pot. You want roots to kind of grow in there. At least it'll have space to grow roots. It can probably grow around the cocoa chips, but it's better if you just have soil at the base. In this soil mixture that we have right now, it's Fox Farm soil. It already has perlite, but I did add coarse perlite and orchid bark and a little bit of charcoal. So I'm gonna be using that mixture at the base of this pole. All right, so like I said, we're gonna go ahead and fill up this pole, leave some space for the base, fill it up with soil. Let's move on. Now, if you're doing cocoa chips, you might wanna put something at the bottom when you're filling up the pole. I'm gonna go ahead and just use this cup. Okay, maybe this cup's not big enough, but we'll find something. I'm gonna just use my dustpan. Okay, just like that. Ah, this probably would have been so much easier if I had just put some before I wrapped it. Yeah, cocoa chips are kind of loose though. It's not that easy to mess with. This is not an easy task. Not a very not a very clean task. Getting everywhere. Okay, we're almost done filling it up as much as we can. Like I said, I want to put soil at the base. Filling that up with soil is probably going to be a lot more messier. Let's see, kind of go about that far. Do the 2-finger test. Let's see, boom. Go about there. All right, here's the finished product. Almost. Okay, so we got about that long with my 2 fingers. Good enough for the pot's depth. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here. Let's see if my fiance wants to do the honors. All right, honey, we have to add soil into the pole.
Okay.
So go ahead and add some soil in there. I'm gonna hold this so that the cocoa chips don't fall out of the pole. Do it as best as you can. Pretty chunky soil mix, so it might just all fall out. Let's see. It's making a mess. Pack it in there as much as you can. And poke it up. There we go. All right, guys, so this is the complete finish of the pole. I'm gonna go ahead and flip it upside down and throw it in there. All right, let me get on this side so I can hold the plant for you. Let's see. Now what you wanna do is you wanna put the pole on the back of the plant, and the way you know that the back of the plant is the back is if you see an aerial root poking out that side, and that'll be your best bet for support. Ah. Now we're gonna let this cocoa chips fall into place.
Oh, wait.
Sun's kind of tilting forward. All right, so now what we're gonna do here, this pole, we're gonna have to wrap it just for added support until the plant can fully bind itself to the pole. And there you have it. Get yourself a homemade Coco Pole, Coco Husk, Coco Chips, whatever you want to call it.
We need more soil.
Well, thank you guys for watching. My name is James. This is my fiance Maricel. If you guys want to give her a follow, she does have a YouTube channel as well, VHS Vinyl and Plants. I'll leave the link right on her face. Just kidding, I'll put it like right down over here, right over here. Maybe in my bio, but We'll see you guys next time.